Okay, no problem. No.
Yes, sir. We can start.
Good morning. Happy to be back meeting you again after a brief interruption for about 2 weeks. We didn't meet. Okay. Uh, Today we are going to learn about the terminology used in the newsroom, or the terms used in the profession of journalism. All of you have a printout of about 50 words which are frequently used in the media. Okay. These are all special terms. Uh, I think most of you come across these terms, but your perception will be different from what they mean in the area of journalism. For example, there's a there's a there's a word spelled Lead, Lead, lead. What do you understand by lead? What do you understand by lead? All of us know the word Lead, lead. Or we can spell it the other way, led or lead. What is the meaning we attribute to Lead, led or lead? What is the meaning?
Let is a science term, sir.
Lead is a
Science term word.
good.
Let L-E-A-D.
Yeah, yes. Lead is a metal. It's a
Metal.
it's a chemical term. It's a Lead. Lead is a lead is a metal. Okay, Lead, lead.
Generally, they'll say that guiding others.
Pardon?
In general, it is guiding others.
Guide, lead from the front. Yes, be a leader. Okay, but here in newspaper or in journalism, the lead is has a different meaning. So likewise, you'll find so many familiar words carrying a different meaning in journalism. We have a list of 50 words. We'll start with ABC. First one is ABC. What is given in your handout? What is ABC? Ah, yes. What is ABC? What? Audit Audit Bureau of Circulation. ABC is Audit Bureau of Circulation. Why? Well, this is a very interesting term. ABC is Audit Bureau of Circulation. In simple words, the role of ABC is to find out how many copies of a publication are sold in a day. We have so many different newspapers published in different languages, published from different regions, different places, and the role of AB. This is a non-profit organization. ABC is found all over the world, wherever newspapers are printed, and the job of ABC, the mandate of ABC is to find out accurately how many copies of a particular publication is sold. How many? The exact number of copies sold by a publication sold, right? Number of copies printed is different. Every news organization will print, say, if they are printing 50,000 copies, they'll be actually selling 45,000 or 40,000 copies. There will be wastage. There will be returns from the market. Not all the copies will be sold on the same day, especially in the case of newspapers. So the Audit Bureau of Circulation sends chartered accountants, trained chartered accountants, to different publishing centers. A publishing center is a place from where a newspaper is published and printed, or published from elsewhere and printed. Every printing center will have an audit undertaken by representatives of ABC. They'll go sit in the offices and find out how many copies are actually printed and how many copies are actually sold. Why should this audit be undertaken? Because newspaper business is a profit making business now. Any media business is for profit making. So when you are looking for profit making, you face severe competition in the market. Parallelly, similarly, you have TRB ratings in television. They find out how many people actually view a television program every day. They fit special monitors in select areas across India to find out how many people actually view the program every day. So likewise, in print we have ABC. What is this audit for? Audit of publications. Actually, you can print 50,000 copies and claim that I'm selling 50,000 copies. But advertisers want to know exactly how many copies are sold in any region. Supposing I'll give an example. Supposing I want to launch a product in Virudhunagar district alone. So what do I do is I go to the ABC website, find out who is the highest selling news brand in Virudhunagar, which is the highest selling newspaper in Virudhunagar. I find out by language how many copies of Tamil newspapers are sold, how many copies of English newspapers are sold, and I plan my advertising accordingly. The more the number of copies sold at a particular place, the better chances of getting more advertisements. This is ABC is directly linked to advertising. Advertisers every year, corporate houses by February, March, they come out with their annual advertisement budget. They specify what kind of budget, what kind of advertisements they are going to place in the coming year, 22, 23. Say a company wants to spend 10 crore on advertisements. Of that, 5 crore will be for television, 2 crore for net, and 3 crore for print. And for within the budget, they'll find out which are the publications that will carry their advertisement. They have 3 crore for print, and in which how many Tamil newspapers will be given advertisement, how many English newspapers, how many Telugu newspapers, Kannada newspapers, Marathi newspapers, Hindi newspapers. They'll specify what is the amount, what is the budget for each language, and within that budget, within the language budget, they'll choose which newspaper they should go for. The your advertisement revenue is directly linked to the number of copies sold. So some third party agency, a non-profit agency which has no agenda, which will not side with any publication, which will be very neutral, which will employ professionals, chartered accountants, to find out which newspaper sells more, which newspaper sells less, or the exact number of copies sold by a particular newspaper in a particular region. This audit report is released every 6 months, and you'll find advertisements in magazines and newspapers, someone claiming I'm the number one in Tamil, I'm the number one English, I'm the number one in Chennai, I'm the number one South India, I'm the number one in South Tamil Nadu, I'm the number one in Tamil Nadu. So many claims, but all these claims are certified by the Audit Bureau of Circulation. This is a professional body. Okay, what is the next one? Advertisement. Yeah. Alignment. Sorry, alignment. What do you mean by alignment?
Arrangements.
Pardon?
Arrangements.
One at a time.
Arrangements.
Arrangement. Okay. Yes. Roughly, you can say arrangement. Alignment is proper arrangement. Proper arrangement. See, in this auditorium, in this hall, you have a proper arrangement of chairs, right? If the chairs are placed in a haphazard manner, and somebody sitting to my left in the corner, or somebody sitting in the corner to my right, I'll not be able to see you, and you will not be able to see the screen, and there will be chaos. Like, well, we have an alignment in our structure, physical structure. Our body has an alignment. You have the head in a place, you have the torso in some place, you have the hip somewhere, you have the leg somewhere, you have the hand somewhere. If they are misplaced, like your hand is somewhere, your leg is somewhere, our head is somewhere, what will happen? We will not look like a human being. So alignment is required to present something aesthetically, properly, visually good, appealing, which will be liked by everyone. So all of us are very conscious of our alignment, right? We want to have a good alignment everywhere. Even in your home, your kitchen will be in good alignment. The stove will be where it should be. The cutlery will be where it should be. Vegetables will be there where they should be. So you have a place for everything. That is alignment. You place some, you place things in an order so that it looks very appealing, very impressive, very pleasing. So this is alignment. I'll show you an example of alignment. Well, this is the front page of a newspaper. You have, this is called the flag, this is called the logo, this is called the masthead. uh, uh, you can call it they call it flag. In the US they call it flag. Here we call it the masthead. This is the face, this is the head of, or the head of a newspaper. Below this you find the date and year, date of publication. Some newspapers carry places, some newspapers have a logo here. It differs. But the alignment means the whole of this page. The whole of this page is called alignment. You'll find that everything is in order. You can draw a line here, you can draw a line here, you can draw a line here, you can draw a line here. So it is symmetric. Alignment ensures symmetry, distribution, equal distribution of. Here you will find news, photograph, heading, photograph, and this is a graphic. And this is called, we'll come to it later, this is called the inside track. Inside, this is a navigation tool, they call it. You can find the headlines of news items that appear in the inside pages. What is appearing in page 2, page 4, page 2, page 4, page 14, page 16, whatever is there. So it, there is nothing disorderly here, everything is in order. You have a small photograph here, you have a big photograph here, you have a medium sized photograph here, you have a two line heading here, you have a single line heading here, you have a box here, we'll come to it later, what is a box. And you find symmetry. This appeals to your eye. So this is called alignment. You align things in such a manner that one element does not interfere with another element. one element does not disturb another element. One element does not block another element. There is symmetry. It's like life. Life is there for everyone to live. We give room for everyone. So that's how life goes on. We have to accommodate everyone. We have to accommodate every view. The, Only then we'll attain alignment in life. What is the next one? Have you understood what is alignment, or you have any doubt?
Please answer. No, no, no.
Okay. What is the next term?
AP.
AP. AP is, what is AP in your type sheet? What is there? Yes. Ah, what is AP? What is AP? You have it in your hand. Oh, AP is Associated Press. AP is Associated Press. Okay. What do you mean by Associated Press? You will find another term, news agency, below. So Associated Press is a news agency or a news organization. It is also called a press agency or a news service or wire service. Earlier they used to call it wire service. Why wire service? They send news items through the telegraph, through the wire. That is called, it's wire. They call it wire service. Associated Press is a news agency. The story associated with Associated Press is this: during World War C, every news organization, every country has news organizations. Here we are talking about newspapers, magazines, television channels, and internet portals. For every news organization, for every newspaper or magazine or television channel or internet portal, they have correspondents or reporters spread across their region. If one particular, say, let's take an example of a Tamil newspaper. Say a Tamil newspaper published from different centers of Tamil Nadu: Chennai, Coimbatore, Salem, Madurai, Tiruchi, Tirunelveli, Tanjavur, Pondicherry, yes, Dindukal, so many places. They'll have reporters or correspondents spread across Tamil Nadu. We also have some interest in our neighboring states. For that, they'll have correspondents in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, in Trivandrum, in Kochi, or even in Delhi and Mumbai. Mumbai for business news, financial news, market news. In Delhi, because that's where our parliament sits. Our ministers are there, prime minister is there, council of ministers are there, officials are there. So they'll also place somebody there. But if a newspaper wants to cover the Russian war, a war is going on. We have forgotten about the Russian war. We are talking about the Russian war till 2 weeks back, almost every minute. Today, we are more worried about the rising price of petrol. So one news gives place for another. But I own a Tamil newspaper. I publish a Tamil newspaper from Virudhunagar. And I want to cover the Russian war, the Russian-Ukrainian war. So can I send someone there? I can. But that will be very costly, very prohibitive. And in the absence of any direct air services to Moscow or to Kiev, what will I do? In the last few months, you would have seen people chartering flights to go to foreign countries because there was no regular flight service. So it is unaffordable for a Tamil newspaper like mine. I'm owning a small newspaper. So what I do is I subscribe for a news agency which will provide me with news from places where I do not have any representative. I may not even have somebody in Lucknow where elections were held, Uttar Pradesh. I may not have somebody in Assam. I may not have somebody in Jammu and Kashmir. So I require news from these places. My readers depend on me for news from these places, news from Uttar Pradesh, news from Rajasthan, news from Russia, news from America, news from Canada, news from Europe, news from Japan, news from Singapore, news from Sri Lanka. So, what do? I get news from a news agency. How these agencies were formed? Every nation has a major news agency. In India, we have two or three major news agencies. One is Press Trust of India. The second one is United News of India, but that's fading. That's not fully operational. We also have another news agency called ANI. ANI. ANI is now very famous next to PTI because it supplies video news also. You'll find in television channels reporters, correspondents holding mics with the logo ANI, Associated News of India. So uh, these are the three major news agencies in India. But how did the news agencies come into existence? During till World War II, newspapers confine themselves to local news, that is regional news. If a newspaper is published in Madurai, you'll get more news from the southern districts surrounding Madurai. But when World War broke out, there was a need to know what was happening in the war front. What was happening in Russia, what was happening in Japan, what was happening in France, what was happening in UK, what was happening in US. So, but the newspapers, the American newspapers, could not afford to send correspondents to every country, say 10 countries or 15 countries, 20 correspondents, 10 photographers. They didn't have the money, they didn't have the budget, because in war situations you need to be very careful. You have to stay in a special place, you need to have a special gear, you need to get a special pass, you need to travel with under very hazardous conditions. You may not even have your food, you may not have proper facility to transmit your news, so you have to have your own transmission facility. That is why there is a story behind the demolition of Twin Tower. Two aeroplanes flew into the Twin Tower in the US and started a chain of terrorist attacks. There's an interesting anecdote behind it. So everything happened. When they went back, they found that two hard disks of two reporters, which were left in Iran because they had to replace their hard disk. They discarded their old hard disk and they got more information about terrorist organizations from these two hard disks. So you have to have your own transmission facility, which is very expensive. So what the US newspapers did, they formed an association and they sent reporters. They shared the expenses. They shared the expenses of collection of news. There will be one person representing the association in France, there will be one person in UK, one person in Russia, one person in India, one person in Japan, one person in Germany, one person in Canada, elsewhere. So they'll start filing news stories about the war, and this news will be shared. They shared the expenses and also they shared the news. So This practice has come a long way from the second new world, sharing of news, because you cannot have your representative all over the world at the same time. It is very expensive, especially after the pandemic. It is becoming very expensive. Many newspapers do not have correspondents working all over India, Indian newspapers. They depend on news agencies. And many newspapers have one person covering the whole of South Asia. Somebody sitting in Delhi covering Burma, covering Singapore, covering Malaysia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, the whole of South Asia. So it's very cost effective. So news agencies came into existence when there was a need for covering news happening in faraway places, far off places. News happening supposing something happens in Antarctica, you cannot send a group of reporters there. Only one person will go there, cover the event, and send it back, so that the news is shared by everyone. We have such news agencies all over the world. One is the Associated Press, it is based in the US. Another one is Reuters. This is the oldest news agency in the world. Reuters. And Reuters is headquartered in London. It is based in London. It is UK news agency. And there is another news agency called AFP, Agency French Press. Agency French Press, AFP. It's also a famous news agency, very old news agency, one of the oldest news agencies of the world. We have different news agencies in Germany, in India, in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka, in Japan, in China. The erstwhile USSR had its own news agency called it is now defunct. It had its own news agency. It was called TASS, TASS. But the famous news agencies of the world today are AP, Associated Press, AFP, Agency French Press, and PTI in India. These are the major news agencies. Next word. Banner. What do you understand by banner? If for example, you have your graduation day in college, and you place a banner outside announcing that graduation day is happening today, so and so is the chief guest. What is a banner? A banner is a big, it can be a hoarding, it can be a flex sheet. Banner. Yes, in newspaper, banner means different. Banner means something else. I'll show you a banner. Which is the banner here? Healing is coming. US vaccinations begin. This is a very significant development because the world was tormented by a virus for about 2 years, and everyone was praying for a cure. Everyone was praying for light at the end of the tunnel. Everyone was clueless. Nobody knew what was happening, and suddenly the world came up with a few vaccines. So banner says healing is coming. All of us are going to be all right, because in United States vaccinations have begun. Vaccines have come and vaccination has begun. Why is this important? You see a rounded heading here. Spread versus death toll tops 3 lakh. That is three. Yes, death toll crosses 3 lakh. 3 lakh people have died. They were praying for a cure. So vaccines have come. Healing is coming. So this is a very significant event, and so this is called a banner, a heading occupying almost the entire page. In a newspaper, this is called a column. This newspaper has 8 columns. This newspaper has 8 columns, and you find the heading running from the first column to the final column. What is the meaning of banner in the printout given to you? The main headline stretching right across the top of a page over all the columns. This is the main headline stretching right across the top of a page over all the columns. This is called banner. This is called banner heading, and this is banner. This banner heading is not used frequently because this is a very significant heading, and so it is used only on very important occasions. Do you see another banner? Or you're not able to see another banner? I'll show you another banner, another type of banner. The earlier banner was in italics. This banner is all caps. This banner is all capital letters. What is this? Can you guess what is this? This happened in the year 1969. What is this? What is this hit about? Can you guess? This is a news about man landing in moon. Spaceman on moon. It simply says astronauts have landed in the moon. For the first time, man set foot on the moon. There's a famous quote associated with this. Can any of you recall or remember? One of the astronauts said after setting foot, "A small step for man, but a giant leap for mankind." That is the quote associated with man first landing on the moon. Banner heading can be in all caps, that is, all letters will be in capital letters, or first word, first letter, capital letter, proper nouns, first word, first letter, capital letters, the rest in lowercase, or it can be in italics. 3 types of headings. One is normal heading, leading, covering all the columns. The other one is all caps, again covering all the columns. Third one is in italics. There will also be a fourth one which will not spread from column 1 to 8, but will be in the middle, covering the entire page. Okay, shall we move to the next one?
Yes.
What is the next one? Beat. What is our understanding of the beat? When we look at the word BEAT, what do we understand? What
Music.
beat is?
Music.
Music. Yes. Good. Very good. And
Punishing someone.
punishment, hit at someone, beat someone. But this beat is different. BEAT means whenever elections are held, a prime minister or a chief minister is chosen, and he chooses his council of ministers. In a council of ministers, each minister is allocated a portfolio. In journalism, every newspaper office has a group of reporters. That group is headed by a person who is called the chief of bureau. He's like the chief minister or the prime minister. He has his own team of journalists, his own team of reporters. Each reporter, like the ministers, will be allotted a portfolio. That portfolio is called the beat. Someone will cover the assembly. Someone will cover the court. Someone will cover the police. Someone will cover PWD. Someone will cover arts, fine arts. Someone will cover music. Someone will cover the municipal corporation. Someone will cover the highways, Department of Highways. Someone will cover health, hospitals, doctors, patients, diseases. So these are all called beats. The particular subject or area which is assigned to a reporter to cover. So every reporter has a beat. His duty is to visit the beat every day to find out what's happening. You understand? Shall we go to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The next one is
Box.
box. So what is box? Container, right? In Tamil,
Petty.
petty. Okay, good. Petty. A box is an item ruled off on all four sides with a rule or border. In journalism, box is something different. I'll show you this. We have seen this page already, but you will find at the bottom of this page a news item covered by a rule. On all four sides, you have a rule. This is called a box item. Usually, box items are very interesting items. And all over the world, box items are carried on at the bottom of page 1. At the bottom of page, this is page 1, and at the bottom, you'll find this news item. Police puzzling over many clues to solve real life murder mystery. There is some murder in the locality, and police are puzzled at the clues they have come across while solving this murder case. This is an interesting news item for the local readers. This space is called the bottom of the page. Usually, box items, big box items are carried at the bottom. They balance the page. If the smaller boxes, say single, this is a 6-column newspaper, and they have aligned it in such a way it runs only to 5 columns. Okay. If it is a single column box item, it can be taken here in the middle. If it is a double column box item, it can be taken here. Since this is a bigger box item, they have carried it here. I think I referred to one honey story earlier also. Yes. I made a reference to honey story. Honey story sometime back. Honey story is a very interesting human interest story. that is usually carried as a box item on page 1. It is called a honey story because when a husband and wife sit sit at the dining table sipping coffee, one of them is reading a newspaper, and the husband or wife, whoever is reading, finds a news item very interesting. So if it is the husband asks his wife, honey, did you read this? Honey, did you read this? That is how they address their spouses. But the point here is recommending a story to someone. It is so interesting. You recommend the story to someone, asking them to read. So that is called the honey story, which is a captivating story. Usually carried in page 1. Carried in page 1 inside a box covered by a rule on all 4 sides. Shall we go to the next?
Yes, sir.
Next one is brief. You have in your question papers asking to write brief notes. Do you have any dictionary with you? Anyone has a dictionary? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Find out the meaning of brief. Dictionary meaning of brief.
Lasting a short time,
Ah,
using few words,
yes.
not covering much of the body.
Yes. Very few words, a very short news item, anything short. I mean, that's why you are asked to write brief notes for that. You call it small questions. Yes, small answers, brief notes. So in news also, brief is a short news item. I'll show you what is a short news item. You are you able to see this? You have something circled here. What's news? Business and finance. Each one is a short news item. You can call it a snippet. It's a brief. It's a short news item. It's a snippet. Brief is always brief. You cannot. It cannot exceed 5 lines. Maximum size of a brief is 5 lines. These are all very short news items. These are all snippets which could be read. You find here the reference to the page A1, A1, B1, B1. You will find this news elaborated in the respective pages. But on the front page, you find briefs, and every page will have a brief. Page 2 will have briefs, page 3 will have briefs, small items, snippets. Shall we go to the next one?
Yes, sir.
What is the next one? Blurb. Blurb. A blurb is a small write-up usually found on the back cover of a book. Usually found on the back cover of a book. You can also find blurbs. Blurb is something similar to brief, but blurb will contain usually contain a quotation from someone, whereas brief is a news item. Blurb will usually be a quotation. You can find a blurb in the middle of a news item in newspapers with a photograph. Someone's photograph will be there, the quotation will be there. In books, you'll find in books commentaries, reviews, commendations from famous persons about the book. I'll show you one of the blurbs. This is a blurb found in the back of a book. What an article. I loved every word of it. Who knew that a simple feature about literary log rolling could be such a joy to read? Even if I wasn't close friends with the author, I would say the same thing. This is a one, two, three, four-sentence blurb. Four-sentence blurb found at the back of a book. The book's name is The Art of the Blurb by Nick Clark. And this is a commendation, four-line commendation, a blurb. This is a blurb. Okay. What's the next one? Byline. Byline. I'll show you a byline. Byline is simply the name of the author, the name of the person who wrote the news article, feature, or a story, or a news item. It is the name of the author. It is found invariably at the beginning of the news story below the headline. It is found below the headline. Rarely, you can also find it at the bottom of the write-up, at the bottom of a feature, at the bottom of an article. But usually, it is found at the top, below the headline, above the first paragraph, above the lead, or above the dateline. I'll show you. Look at this. First COVID-19 deaths in Victoria, I think. VT is Victoria. I don't know. Or Vietnam or Vermont. Sorry, Vermont. First COVID-19 deaths in Vermont. This is a local newspaper, a state newspaper, Rutland Herald. And you will find first COVID-19 deaths in Vermont. Below that, you find what? By, there's a name. It's not very clear. But by somebody. By Mike somebody. And here, Trump, US Not Clerks by Jill Corden. You will find the name here. So he is the writer of this news article. He is the writer of this news item. I'll tell you some other thing. This is VT. We don't know what it is. Is it Victoria or something else? But it's Vermont. Vermont is in US. And similarly, if we say first COVID deaths in TN, we'll know what it is. What is TN? Tamil Nadu. But people in the US, people in Vermont may not know what is TN. So we should be very careful while using short forms in headings. This newspaper is circulated only in that region, so people know what is VT. It is Vermont. If we are going to circulate our newspaper only, say, in South India or even within India, we'll know it is TN. But if we are going to circulate it in Germany, in Italy, in France, in Spain, where people may not know what is TN. TN may also mean Tennessee. So we have to be careful while using short forms. Okay. Next. What is next?
Yes.
Blurb, byline, caps. Caps is simple, capital letters. Caps is capital letter. We have A capital letter, A small letter, B capital letter. Every letter of the alphabet has a capital form and a small form. In computer or typewriting, what do you call it? What is cap? What is it?
Caps lock.
What?
1%. Caps lock.
Caps lock. Okay, but how do you refer to caps and small letters? Uppercase, lowercase. Uppercase is uppercase is what? You use a shift and type. For uppercase, what do you do? You use the caps lock and type. For lowercase, you remove the caps lock. So caps lock, uppercase means capital letter, lowercase means small letter. Then caption. What is caption? Cap. Yes. Yes.
Catchy sentence.
Catchy sentence. Then description. It says description. Descriptive wording beneath or beside an illustration. An illustration can be a photograph, it can be an infographic, it can be a caricature, it can be a cartoon, it can be anything. If you have a description below a photograph, it's usually for a photograph. A caption goes with a photograph. You have a separate unit for photojournalism. We'll discuss more about caption, photos, photojournalism in that session. We'll have a separate session. But here, caption means a description for a photograph. I'll show you a caption. In this page, you find a photograph, and below that, you find two lines. Usually, a caption describes the action. What is it? What is happening? It answers the question what. Then it answers the question who. Who are there in the photograph? You have to identify these three people. And when. When did it happen? You have to specify in which place it happened. And then, when did it happen is when on the day it happened. Where did it happen? The place of happening. So you have to say in the caption, what is the action about? What? Where? In which place did it happen? Who? Who are all involved? Who are all seen in the photograph? When? When did it happen? On which day? Date, day, place, date, persons, action. These four things should get mentioned in the caption of a photograph so that it makes sense. Otherwise, it will not make sense. You will not know who is this, who is this, who is this, what are they doing, what are they holding on their hands, what is the occasion, where did it happen, when did it happen, why did it happen, how did it happen. Nobody will know. So a photograph, the caption is the explanation of a photograph. A photograph is the explanation of a news item. So everything is interlinked. Caption is necessary. A proper, appropriate caption is necessary for a photograph to be understood. And a proper photograph is needed, clear photograph is needed to understand the news item. Photography is as important as news writing. A photographer is a very important person as a reporter. Both are called journalist. This person is called a news reporter, and the person who takes photographs is called a photojournalist. Okay. I will deal with caption and photographs in more detail when we come to uh, photojournalism. Okay. What is the next one? Caption. Okay. Classified. Next one is classified. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Next one is classified. What is classified?
Variations.
What is classified? Yeah. Who is having the dictionary? Please look up the meaning for classified.
Organized in categories.
Organizing in categories. Categorized.
Categorize.
Yes, categorize. Classify is categorize. Okay. This term is purely an advertisement term. It is used in journalism, but it refers to advertisements, classified advertisements. Classified advertisements are classified advertisements. Sorry, categorized advertisements. I'll show you. This is a page of classified advertisements. You have several categories. Categorization happens in classify. These are all small advertisements categorized under different heads. One is employment, business and service, for rent, for sale, automotive. You'll have different kinds of matrimonial, personal. You have several classifieds. Under employment, you will find small advertisements on the employment opportunities available. Under business and service, you will find announcements of partnership for business, investment for business, services available. And under rent, you can find houses, apartments for rent. For sale, there will be you may even find subcategories. For sale, there will be houses for sale, there will be automobiles for sale, two-wheelers for sale, cars for sale, land for sale, mall for sale, shop for sale. All such saleable items come under the sale category. In automotive, you will find places where services, automobile services are offered, where you can find automobile showrooms, where you can find automobile service centers, where you can find automobile spare parts shops, where you can find automobile beautification shops, enhancement shops. So compared to other advertisements, these advertisements are cheap. They don't charge you much, they charge you per line. So they charge you for line. For a line, you may have to pay 150 rupees or so, or 50 rupees or so, 25 rupees or so, depend on the type of publication. That is why in Tamil it is called classifieds. Is called anybody can recall, remember how classifieds are called in Tamil. What is the name? Huh? What is the name for classifieds in Tamil? Tamil. Sorry, I'm not able to. No, no. I'm not. I want it in the journalistic language. There is a special term for classified advertisements in Tamil, for Tamil newspapers. You all see it every day.
வேலை வாய்ப்புகள்.
That is a category. category under classifies. But what do you call it? Yes. I heard somewhere. Yes. What is it? Tamil newspapers call it vari vilambaram, because they charge per sentence. Yes, that is why it's called. Sorry, they charge per word. They charge word. That is why they call it vari vilambaram. ஒரு வரிக்கு இவ்வளோ. Okay, what is next? Clean copy. It is a very obvious term. Clean copy means any news item, any feature, any article written by a journalist which is clean, which is, you will not find any errors, not many errors in a copy. That is called a clean copy. There is no need to edit it. There is no need to rewrite it. There is no need to correct it. That is called a clean copy. Then clipping. Clipping means a cutting of an item from a newspaper. You cut a news item. You do it in your college. Whenever news about Sri Kaliswari College appears in newspapers, you cut the news item and paste it in the notice board, or take a Xerox and paste it in the notice board. That cutting is a clipping. You will find many clippings in your notice board near the principal's office. That is a clipping. We can also have a video clipping. You can have a cutting from a video where there is reference to Kaliswari College or about the students. You can have a clipping, video clipping. You can also have an audio clipping, short. You take a portion of a speech which has reference to your college, which has reference to your students, which has reference to your teachers, and play it. That is audio clipping. Clippings are short items. You have a newspaper and you have a news item about Kaliswari College. You cut it and send it to the notice board. That is a clipping. Next is copy. Anything written. Now you don't write a copy. You type a copy on the screen. So any material, original material sent for editing and publication is called a copy. It can be a news item, it can be a news article, it can be a news feature. All these things are commonly called copies. Copy. The editor will ask, where is the copy? Did you file the copy? Why are you taking so much time to file the copy? Then correspondent. Correspondent. The word comes from the term correspondence. What is correspondence? Correspondence is communication, two-way communication. You speak to someone and that person gives his feedback, speaks back to you. That is correspondence. You exchange. It's a two-way process. A correspondent, we have seen two categories of people. I hear echo. Voice is bouncing back. Is there?
Yes, sir. Then there is a little break, sir.
Oh, you don't have a problem.
No, sir. No problem.
For you, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Then it's fine. Right. A correspondent is a person who is located away from a printing center or an office of a newspaper. A reporter is one who works in the office of a newspaper. He reports to somebody at the office. So he is a reporter. A correspondent is one who works away from the newspaper office and corresponds with the office. This is the difference between a reporter and a correspondent. A correspondent works in an office, newspaper office, and reports to somebody in the office. A correspondent works away from the office who corresponds with someone in the office. See, a newspaper has a publication in Madurai and also has its office in Madurai. Obviously, a newspaper which has a publication also has its office in the place of publication. So, whoever works in that office are called reporters. Whoever works away from Madurai, say in Virudhunagar, somebody works from Tirunelveli, somebody works from Kanyakumari, somebody works from Thoothukudi, somebody works from Dindigul. These people are called correspondents because they are away from the office of the newspaper. This is the difference between a reporter and a correspondent. Then crosshead. Crosshead, a single line heading placed in the text of a story and centered in the column width. It is a single word heading. I'll show you what it is. A single line heading placed in the middle of a story uncentered. This is a crosshead. Plagued. This is in the center. This is a single word. This is a heading. This is a crosshead. This is called a crosshead. Below it, you will find matter related to this. Plagued. Why was it plagued? This is a crosshead. Right? Shall you go to the next?
Yes, sir.
Next one is dateline. Dateline is nothing simple from where the report, the place of origin of a report and the date of origin of a report. If something is written from Sivakasi, you will find Sivakasi, April 4, 2022. This is the dateline. Under the heading, you find the byline, who wrote it. Below the byline, you find the dateline. Are you able to understand what is dateline?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall you go to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
After that, you have the deadline. What is a deadline? Deadline is the time limit. See, you'll all be having your examination, semester examination soon. You will get an announcement on payment of fees, semester examination fees, in which you will find the deadline for payment of what is this semester? Third semester fees, right? Is or fourth semester? Fourth semester, third semester,
Second semester.
second semester, or whatever. Semester deadline for paying this semester examination fees is 5th May. Deadline means you have to pay your fees before that date. In journalism, you have a deadline every day, every hour, because deadline simply means the time by which a copy is required. You have to file your copy, you have to finish your copy, you have to submit your copy before this time. We have different deadlines in journalism today because a person working for a newspaper should file his report first for the web. Say, for example, there is a conference, national conference organized in Kaliswari College. It gets over by 12 o'clock. He has to file his report by 1 o'clock so that it first goes to the web. The web edition should first get the news item. So you have a deadline for the web. If the event ends at 12 o'clock, he should file it by 1 o'clock for the web, and then another copy for print by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It can go up to, the deadline for printing the first edition is usually 11 o'clock. So you can file it till 10 o'clock. That is the deadline. That is a relaxed, extended deadline. But today, you have to, all print journalists have to file their copies for the web edition. All newspapers, all magazines have their web edition. Web editions are updated every minute. So you have to be up to date. You have to be current. You have to break news. You have to update the reader. So you cannot wait till 10 o'clock in the night to file your copy. You have to file it as and when something happens, as early as possible. So the deadline has come very close or even closer for print journalists. They have to file the copy within half an hour or 45 minutes of the happening, of the breaking news. That is why you will find journalists carrying a laptop, or they do it in their mobile phone itself. So deadline means the time before which you have to get your copy ready. They say deadlines are very cruel because uh, uh, it is very difficult to meet the deadline. It is every day it's a race for journalists against deadline. Because in a place like Madurai or Virudhunagar or Tirunelveli, the reporter has too many things to cover. It's not like in places like Chennai, Delhi, or Mumbai, where you are specific. You are specified a task. You can just cover one or two events, file the copy, and feel happy for the day. But it's difficult for people who work away from the metros. In metros, you have longer deadlines. That means you write stories. You do. There are too many journalists in metros. In metro bureaus you will find 25 reporters, 30 reporters, whereas in places away from Chennai metros you will find 3 to 5 people covering everything. So when they are supposed to cover too many events, say someone has to cover 5 meetings in a day, the rush for deadline is very hectic. It's very difficult to beat the deadline. That is why mistakes creep into the copies of journalists when they work against the deadline. They have to do things in a hurry. That's why mistakes occur, and you have a news desk to correct those mistakes. Okay, next one is
This.
desk. After the deadline comes the desk. The desk is the desk is it is the news desk where editing happens. First, they get the copies, they correct the mistakes, grammatical mistakes, factual errors, syntactic errors, sentence construction, spelling, punctuation, everything is taken care of, and the news item is mounted on a page. The job of the desk is to edit the copy, correct the mistakes, rewrite it to the available space. If the copy is of 500 words, the desk has to rewrite it to 350 words or 300 words so that it will go into the page in full. Otherwise, it will be cut. The job of the desk is to make the copy newsworthy and ready for publication. The second job is to make a page, mount all the stories, all the photographs, all the cartoons, caricatures, all the visual effects on the page, get the page ready, collate all the pages, and get the edition ready. That is the job of the desk. We'll also look at the functions of the desk in detail. The next one is edition. Dummy. Sorry, dummy. I'll first show you the dummy, and then I'll explain it in detail. What is a dummy? What? Unimportant. Okay. Okay. In colloquial usage, dummy is an unimportant thing, right? But actually, a dummy means a replica of the original. A replica of the original. Without it's a bare replica of the original. It will not contain all the elements of the original, but it will resemble the original. I'll show you how. Look at this page. On the left, you have the dummy. What you see on your left, on right, the blank is on your right or left. Blank pages,
On
right
the
or
left,
left?
sir.
Left, to your left. Okay. The blank page. This is the dummy, where you make the page, you categorize, you divide the page. This is the brief. The brief will come here. This is the advertisement. The advertisement will come here. This is the top story. The top story will come here. This is an infographic. The infographic and the story will come here. This is a story. You have divisions. It is divided, and at the bottom you have room for ads. This is the dummy. This gives you an understanding of the page you are going to make. These things you have to do. You have to edit the copy, you have to get this infographic done, you have to correct the mistakes, you have to correct the punctuation, spelling, grammar, logic, everything you have to do. Give the heading. This is the work of the desk. Give the heading and place it on the page. 1 2 3 4 column. This is a 2 column, again 2 column, 2 column, single column, 2 column. You have the brief here, you have the mastered here. This is a dummy. You have to have this to plan this is used to plan the pages. In many organizations, they'll write here in the blanks, they'll write here mastered. This story, the name of the story will be here, so that it'll be easier for them to place the story here. Name of the graphic here, name of the story here, the picture here, everything will be written. Here it is blank. Every newspaper uses this page as a dummy. This dummy is prepared before preparing the original page. It's a replica of the page, but without the essential elements. Have you understood this? What is a dummy? This is a module. This is what it says. The individual modules are then built. This is built. This is like a plan. Before constructing a building, you have a building plan. You say the hall is here, the kitchen is here, the toilet is here, the bedroom is here, the portico is here, the garden is here. Like, you write everything here and you actually construct this. The building comes up, and then you paint the building, you do all ornamental work to make it beautiful, appealing. Whereas here you will not see anything beautiful. You will see only the partitions, only the divisions. This is the plan and this is the building. What is next? Edition. Edition is all newspapers are printed from different places, and even in that printing place, that is called a printing center, you have different editions. Edition means a newspaper that caters to a particular region. Say, for example, in Madurai, they print the Madurai edition of the newspaper. In Madurai, they also print the Tirunelveli edition of the newspaper. In the Tirunelveli edition, you will find news from Tirunelveli, Thoothukudi, Kanyakumari, Virudhunagar, and neighboring districts. This is called the Tirunelveli edition. In newspaper organizations, they start printing from say 11:30 or so. The first edition, if it is printed in Madurai, will go to Kanyakumari because that is the farthest place for in the map of South Tamil Nadu. And if you're to send it upwards, send it north, the newspaper will go up to Tiruchi. They will call it Tiruchi edition. And then this will be printed by 11 o'clock, 11:30. By 12:30, another set of printing will take place, and this newspaper will be carried to places like Dindikkal, Virudhunagar, Sivaganga, Ramanathapuram, Theni, where you will reach these places within 2 hours or 2.5 hours. So if you finish printing by 2 o'clock, you can reach these places by 4 o'clock. The third edition that is called the city edition, from wherever it is printed, that is the last edition, and this edition is printed last by 2 o'clock, 2:30. It will carry the latest news, and it'll be supplied within a radius of 25 to 30 kilometers, short distance, easily reachable. So even if you finish by 3 o'clock, you can reach the place at the latest by 4 o'clock, so that all the newspapers are delivered by 5:30. It's a long process. Reporters write the copies, the desk edits the copy, the press prints the copy, transportation takes place from the place of printing to different centers where the copies are received by different agents. They are the distributors of newspapers. They collate the copies. They hand over the copies to the newspaper delivery men. You will find students delivering newspapers. They deliver newspapers in bicycles, in two-wheelers. They are the people who go from door to door to deliver the newspaper, so that we are all able to read the news at 5:30 in the morning. This is how everyone works towards a deadline. Next one, edition is over. M. Next one is EM. So every measurable thing we use as a unit of measure. We measure groceries we measure vegetables, we measure groceries in what? In what?
kg.
Yes, in grams. We buy 250 grams, you buy 500 grams, we buy 100 grams. Okay, there is a gram is measured, and a gram is equal to a particular weight. Since we buy vegetables, groceries in weight, we use an equivalent weight to measure the vegetables and groceries, and we call it grams, kilograms. And liquids are measured in liters, milliliter, liter, and there is a separate measurement for it. How do we? Newspaper page is about space. We measure the space in centimeters. But how do we measure the letters? It will be very difficult to place the letters on the page without measuring them. See, we have, say, for example, 420 centimeters of space. How many words can 420 centimeters accommodate? We need to have a measurement. That measurement, like milliliter, like gram, we have M, EM. It's nothing. M, letter M, capital letter M is the measure, unit of measure. The capital letter M was originally, earlier we used to have types, linotype, where letters were made from a mixture of lead, antimony, and brass. Somebody used brass, somebody used different metal. They used a combination of metals to make the letter types on which ink was spread and impressions were taken. That is how originally printing took place. Today we have computers, but still we use the letters, same letters. How do we measure the letters? We measure the letters eh, by a unit called M. So M is the capital M. I'll read the definition. It is space. It is the space occupied by capital M. That is M. 1M, 2M, 3M, 4M, 12M, 10M, 24M, 30M, 36M, 42M, 48M, 54M, 60M, 65M. Maximum size will be 65M. Standard unit of measurement equal to 12 points known as a mutton. Do you have the printout with you? Printout given to you? Yes. What is the last letter or last sentence of yum reads?
We don't have that.
It is a standard unit of measurement equal to 12 points known as a mutton. 12 points is the base. 12 points is the base for the heading of any news item. 12, 16, 18, 24, 30, 36 upwards. Why it is called mutton? That was the size. That is a square block. When they chop mutton, they chopped in a manner that it resembled this letter M, 12M, the minimum size of a mutton chop. That is why they called it mutton. It is the size of a letter. M is the size of a letter, and you can reduce the size, increase the size depending on the space you have. I'll explain it more when we come to typography. I think we also have typography. We may have a brief session on typography also. Embargo. Next one is embargo. What is embargo? Embargo simply means you prohibit the publication of a news item till such time. A time will be given. You cannot publish this before this time because, say, for example, an important session of the United Nations organization is happening in the US. We have different time zones, right? And they are going to pass a resolution. The resolution is ready and it's up for voting. Supposing it is voted at 10 o'clock in the morning, the time will be different in Europe and the time will be different in Asia. So what they do is they get the resolution in advance, they release it saying embargoed till 14:30 GMT. What is GMT? GMT, you know. It's a time. What is it? GMT is what? What is GMT? Greenwich Mean Time. Greenwich Mean Time. Because when you know the Greenwich Mean Time, you know how to calculate your local time. What is IST?
Indian Standard Time.
Standard. You derive at you derive at Indian Standard Time by adding 4.3 4 hours and 30 minutes with Greenwich Mean Time. See, if you are in US, you can plus or minus. On this side, it is plus. On that side, it is minus. If you draw a line on Greenwich, you have the time, Greenwich Mean Time. You add or subtract hours and minutes to arrive at your standard time, local standard time. So embargo is you cannot publish something before a particular time. You cannot publish this before 4 o'clock. You cannot publish this before 6 o'clock, because we have evening newspapers, we have 24/7 news channels, and we also have morning newspapers. All these three types of media, they work at different levels, different spaces, and different time zones. So you need to have a standard time for publication of very important breaking news, or some resolutions, very important resolutions, or resolutions in a conference, or a speech. If somebody, if a head of state is delivering a speech, the speech will be ready much earlier. You will get the speech well ahead of the event, but that will be embargoed. You cannot release it till this time. The definition says the fixed time given for the publication of a story before which it should not be released. You cannot release it before the embargo. Embargo prohibits you from releasing it before a specific time. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next one is feature. Yes, we spoke about feature in the last session. You all know what is a feature. A feature is a descriptive story. It is a lengthy story. It does not. It is not like a news story or a report or a news article. A feature employs figures of speech. It's very descriptive. It's very colorful. It's written in the sometimes it's written in the first person. It does not follow the inverted pyramid style. Inverted pyramid style is used for a news story. It does not answer the 5 W's and 1 H: where, why, who, when, which, and how. It does not answer all these 6 questions. It employs a different lead. It employs a delayed deal. It's not a direct lead, it's a indirect lead. Here it says it is an article of background information or personal opinion, usually by a named writer, appearing on the feature pages. It is different from an article, it's different from a news item. We saw about it in detail in the last session. Do you remember or not? Remember. What is the main difference between a news article and a feature? Or a news report and a feature? There is a basic difference. The basic difference is reports are shorter, features are longer. Right, that's a basic difference, and there are so many other differences. I'll send you a video link in which you'll find the differences between an article and a feature, or a news and a feature. I'll send you a video link. The next one is what?
Five.
File. File. File is both a noun and a verb. File means our computer. In computer, we have files. We have different files for different material under different headings. So also a file is one that is created. It can be a news story, it can be news feature, something created, because news items are sent as files in the over the computer. They transmit news items using a computer or a mobile phone to the publishing center. So it is they create files. The other one is transmission itself is called filing. Filing a news report, filing a feature, filing an article, filing news. The act of sending news item is filing. So file is both a noun and a verb. Is it clear or not? File is a noun. When you use it as a noun, it means you create a file for a news item. News items are sent as files. because we use the computer. Files are sent. So a file contains a news item. The act of filing, transmitting news itself is filing. You file a copy, you file a feature, you file a news report. You are sending a news report. That is filing. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Next one is
Mount
Sir, excuse me, sir.
yes.
Sir, it is almost 12:15, sir. Can we go for some 12:30 or?
Yeah. Okay. 12:30. Or shall we stop here and go for questions?
Yes, sir. We'll go for questions, sir.
We'll go for questions. We'll complete this in the next session.
Okay.
We can start with questions from the leftover questions
Yes, sir.
from the last session. We'll start from my left. Today we'll start the questions from my left. ஒருத்தர் நான் கடைசியா ஒருத்தர் கேள்வி கேட்டார் தமிழ்ல எனக்கு சரியா கேட்க வரல அதனால தமிழ்லயே கேட்கிறேன்னு கிளம்பும்போது கேட்டாரு. Don't worry about the language. Don't worry about the language. This is the forum where you can get your mistake corrected. So don't feel shy of you.
It's you? Who asked questions? Sir, maybe they are from second year, sir. Today they have not joined with us.
Okay. Questions from you. Any question? Not necessary on the terminology. It can be anything. Yeah, we have 15 minutes.
Come on, you don't have much time.
Okay, anyone?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I'm Ismail from second in English.
Yes.
I have one doubt, sir.
Yes.
What is radio journalism and what is the functions of broadcasting, sir?
What is
Radio journalism.
radio journalism? Yes. Okay. Right.
What is the functions of broadcasting?
Right. Okay. Thank you. Radio journalism is a separate discipline. We have print journalism, we have electronic journalism, and we have visual journalism. Electronic journalism also includes visual journalism. We also have web journalism. The traditional journalism is print journalism, where we work for newspapers and magazines. Electronic journalism covers radio and television. In radio, we need to have a separate skill set. The skills required for radio journalism are slightly different from what is required for print journalism. In print, you are faceless. Nobody knows who you are. Maybe they'll read your names in print, in bylines. In bylines, they'll find your names, but they will actually would not have listened to your voice or seen you on television. In television, you have to show yourself before the camera. In radio, you have to present yourself before a microphone. First, basically, besides being a journalist, you should also have a good voice. Voice is more important in radio journalism. Number two, you need to have an ability to read and to speak flawless language. It can be in Tamil or it can be in English, but your language should be flawless and it should flow naturally. You can all be radio journalists because there is a huge demand coming up for radio jockeys. The only qualification for them is they should be able to speak non-stop 24/7. But you will find that all that they talk or make sense. They also talk nonsense. That is different because there is no other way of filling so much time space. You have to keep on talking, 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 doing nothing else. And you don't have much advertisements also in radio because the competition is very, very huge. In places like Sivakasi, you are still, it's a virgin land as far as radio journalism is concerned. You don't have any FM stations in Sivakasi. You don't have. You don't have public broadcasting FM stations, but there are private FM stations operated from home. I don't know whether I have spoken about this. There is an app called, I think I sent it to you. I'm not sure. There's an app called World Garden, in which you'll find thousands of FM stations. All are private stations operated from homes. Like individuals like us operate FM stations. You get a license and operate FM station, but that is not for public broadcast. That is only for net broadcast. I'll send the app to you. I'll send a link to you. If you are interested, you can listen to thousands of stations spread across the world. It's a globe. If we touch, if we touch a state, all the FM stations will bloom. And you can choose your station. Even very very small places like Disain Valley have 3 or 4 FM stations. You have yes, in Sivakasi there are FM stations, but not for public broadcast. They are broadcast through the internet. Okay, the broadcast we are talking about is in the mainstream broadcast. You have opportunities both in the private sector and the public sector. In the public sector, you have the All India Radio. All India Radio operates conventional stations and FM stations, commercial stations. Commercial broadcasts are Vivid Bharati and FM. Now they are merging they merge FM with Vivid Bharati. We have only FM stations, where you have many opportunities to be a radio jockey. A radio journalist is of two kinds. One is a radio jockey, and the other one is a programmer. Radio jockey is basically an announcer. You don't create, you don't write programs. A programmer, on the other hand, is different. He can program a talk, he can program a play, he can program a program, youth program, women's program, students program. Basically, you should be a good speaker. You should improve your eloquency, your ability to speak. So what you do is, even in your regular conversations, you consciously use Tamil words. If you are interested in working for the Tamil radio stations, try to consciously use good Tamil words, because we are neither using Tamil words nor English words in an interesting manner. We use we use slang, we use jargon. We are into the colloquial mode. That is why we are not able to shine to our expectations in the examination. Examiners wish to see a different type of language, a formal language, but we apply our colloquial style in writing also. Speech is different from writing. We need not confuse speech from writing. It is like English and Tamil, right? If you are good at speech, it means you are good in Tamil. If you are good in writing, if you are good in English, these are two different varieties. Even if you write the same language, the way you speak Tamil is different from the way you write Tamil. The way you speak English is totally different from the way you write English. So for radio jockeys, colloquial Tamil or colloquial English is more essential when you act as a jockey, announcer. But when you become a programmer, you need to use formal Tamil. This is number one. Like in every other field, like in print, like in television, like in web, you need to have some basic skills of information technology. You need to possess certain basic technical skills, because you're going to work with gadgets in radio journalism. You are going to work with recorders, you're going to work with microphones, you're going to work with amplifiers, you're going to work with sound engineers, you are going to work inside the soundproof rooms, you're going to work with the internet, you're going to work with websites, you're going to record things away from your workplace, remote recording. Even songs are recorded remotely. Musicians work from one place, the music director sits in one place, the playback singers are in different places. They do the track and send the tape. That is how even radio programs are made today. You can work for a radio from sitting in your home. You don't need to travel to Kodaikanal, you don't need to travel to Madurai, or no need to travel to Tirunelveli or Nagarkoil to work in a radio station. There is good scope for freelancers in radio. You'll be surprised to know that the Kodai FM has more freelancers than regular employees. And when you work for radio, you become employees of All India Radio, and you are governed by an act called Prasar Bharati Act. You become government employees. But now they employ people as freelancers, as stringers. More stringers are employed. And the basic quality is this: your language should be, you'll be proficient in language, and you should know basic computer skills. Basically, you should not be shy. Both for radio and television, you should not be shy. To develop those skills, this remote classrooms will be of great help. See, uh, I'm able to see you from a distance. I'm not sitting or standing close to you. You need not feel shy to raise questions, to raise up, ask stupid questions. Don't be shy of making mistakes. English is not our language. I repeat this. English is not our language, it's someone else's language. Even native speakers of English do not speak the language properly, do not speak the language correctly. So don't be shy, because from college you are going to participate in higher forums where people will browbeat you in the sense they'll talk you down. They'll not be proficient in the subject, they'll not, their knowledge will be very shallow, but they'll be great speakers. Your knowledge of the subject will be very high, the depth it will be too deep, the depth will be huge, but you'll not be able to express it in words because you are shy. Basically, we are shy. So get out of that shyness. Try to raise questions. Ask stupid questions. I'm not going to mistake you, because I was also a student. I was also shy. I was also asking very, very basic, elementary, stupid questions. Right? Okay. So these are the qualities, and I'll inform you whenever there are plans to organize free RJ workshops. Madurai Kamaraj University is planning to organize free workshops for aspiring radio journalists. I'll inform you when the project is ready. They are planning to take, I think, 50 candidates in every batch. I'll try to get you accommodated, at least a few of you, if you are interested in radio journalism. I think you have. We will come to radio journalism. I think we can discuss radio journalism in detail in a future class also, if you have it or if you want it. We have another 3 minutes. Any more questions?
So can we we go to Hindu Press? Can we go to any such radio station? It's-
Radio stations.
Yeah, sir.
Yes, that should be possible. That should be. You can visit one of the nearest FM stations.
Yes.
Nearest is Madurai, or Any other place? Virudhunagar, do you have? You don't have. Madurai, yes. I'll try to. Yes.
Yes, sir. Can you help us, sir? Like to which station we can go because we are not much aware of it.
Yeah.
It is around Madurai.
Madurai, yeah, that should be possible. But I heard that in All India Radio, you have to pay for the visit. I'll find out.
Okay, sir. Okay.
I'll find out. But it should be possible. Radio station is possible. Yes, I'll try to.
Yes. We'll do the follow.
Yes, we'll finish terminology in the next session and then proceed to photojournalism.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
okay, sir.
Any more questions?
Maleshwaran, can you give one feedback?
Yes.
Please, sir.
Any question? Who is asking the question?
So we have questions. Do you have questions? Do you have questions? Maria has a question? No. Today they don't have questions.
Okay, right.
They are satisfied with terminology.
Right. I remember asking you to write 10 sentences in the first session itself. How many of you have written the 10 sentences, 10 simple sentences?
Raise your hand. How many of you are written?
Yes, good. Almost all of you. We'll discuss each write up during the workshop or during the internship, right? Because that will be the basis for your further writing. You may have to write essays, news reports, news features, bigger stories. We'll start from the 10 simple sentences. Those who have not completed the task, please try to complete it. Keep it ready for when we do the internship. We'll discuss each one in detail so that everyone gets benefited, right? uh, don't be afraid of making mistakes. All of us make mistakes. Don't feel shy. uh, this mode of learning, online learning, is very helpful in getting out of your shyness, because you're going to be visible only within your classroom, and you're going to be visible only to me, not for a bigger audience. So get rid of your shyness. Use this classroom to get rid of your shyness, to correct your mistakes, to improve your skills, to improve your personality skills, right? Okay, we'll meet next Monday, ma'am, or the other
Yes,
16th,
sir. Yes, sir. On 18th. Sir.
18th. Okay, we'll meet on 18th, right?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
We can end up this session with feedback from Maleshwaran, sir.
Okay, right.
Maleshwaran.
Please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Ayush from first time English, sir.
Yes.
So today's session ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்துச்சு சார். அண்ட் எங்களுக்கு இந்த வேர்ட்ஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப புதுசு சார். ஸோ அதை நீங்கள் சொல்கிறப்ப அதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ஈஸியாக எங்களுக்கு புரியுச்சு. ஸோ ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லாக இருந்துச்சு சார் எங்களுக்கு.
Thank you.
தேங்க்யூ.
Thank you, sir. The same thing. Not only you had explained, but you had also shown the newspaper, like where it comes. So it helps, of course, even me. We could remember like the words, as you said, by line, all those things. Now we understand what it is. So thank you, sir. So
Thank you.
we are like more interested to listen further on these terms in the coming 4th day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.